Welcome. How are you?
There he is. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, guys? A pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the Temple of Technology.
Can you kick us off with a quick introduction on yourself and the company for those who might not know?
And your PFP too.
What is your
Got to
PFP?
get the backstory there.
Absolutely. I think not too many people are would be familiar with the PFP. But to start with myself, I'm Alon. I'm one of the co-founders of Pump Fun.
Cool.
Pump Fun is a launch pad where anyone can create their own coin, and it's based on the Solana blockchain. And my PFP is Remilio. It is an NFT based on Ethereum.
Very cool.
A little crossover.
Yeah,
pulling over
not,
some Ethereum
not
lore.
pure Solana maxi.
Why don't we start with, we have a primarily sort of traditional tech audience. Why don't we start with the origin story of Pump? I know you have had a crazy time, even fundraising, went through a couple pivots to get to the launch pad that is today. So I think it'd be great to hear the backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I mean, I've been in crypto for a while. Before we built Pump Fund, myself and my two co-founders were building a bunch of different ideas in crypto, consumer crypto, in NFTs and SocialFi and a bunch of different random corners of the space. Nothing really stuck. I mean, I think we built for around a year or so before we got any semblance of traction. Ultimately, we weren't really building for ourselves. And I think once people started trading meme coins on Solana is when we first saw that there is a problem or a few problems that we can solve that would actually be addressing some of our issues, because we were, trading on the side. We've always been trading meme coins and NFTs and all that different stuff on chain. And we noticed that there's a whole bunch of different problems that we could solve by building a launch pad where anyone could create their own coin, standardizing the way people launch these things in a more secure and safe manner, as well as in a way that is more user-friendly for people, so anyone can get involved and you don't need to be highly technical to launch your own asset. So Pump Fun, I would say, was the first product that really allowed for mass tokenization, and it's something that we're going to continue doing.
So I want to give a little bit of backstory. I'm sure you can't talk about numbers, but Pump is one of the fastest growing companies in history. It's why we're, one of the reasons we were interested in having you on the show. I believe we'll have to make some type of chart at some point, but I believe we'll probably be one of the fastest companies ever to $1 billion in revenue. Yep. How quickly, when you guys started the launchpad, did you feel like did you kind of realize that you were onto something? Was it kind of immediate PMF, or did you even have to iterate from that initial launch of the launchpad?
Yeah, when we first came up with the idea, we were pretty confident that it was going to work, especially compared to some of the other stuff that we were building. On our launch day, we got quite a bit of buzz around it. I mean, the MVP that we shipped was so incredibly shitty that everyone came and then they had to leave because it just wasn't working. But that initial buzz and the feedback that we got made us realize that we were onto something for sure. It was only a matter of iteration. It was a matter of finding distribution, because ultimately what we offer is a marketplace. It's a launch pad where you're connecting people that are creating these assets and people that are potentially interested in buying and selling them and trading them. So it was a matter of distribution. It was a matter of iteration and polishing the products. It took us around 2 months after launch to actually get it off the ground. It was a lot of, make it work, but eventually it played out. And obviously, we were confident that it was going to work, but we had no idea that it could blow up and then actually generate so much revenue and become this great business.
How do you actually make money?
Yeah, so two main. Well, it's all really the same model. Yeah. It's a small fee on each trade. So whenever a coin launches, the platform takes a 1% trading fee, and each time the coin is traded. Wow. Once it graduates, I mean, a graduation is basically when a coin gets to a certain market cap, it grows in size and so on. Once it graduates, it's the same fee basically, but just a smaller one that the platform charges.
And is that
it's a really small
so that you don't get disintermediated or you don't get outcompeted by other platforms? Like, are you thinking about that? And because I feel like there's this narrative in crypto where like somebody builds something amazing, has a great business, and then there's like an open source fork of it or something like that. Is that a risk that you're thinking of and like planning against?
I mean, of course, when you build
Yeah.
something successful, I think in any industry, you're going to
Yep.
expect some copycats. I mean, something that we've been expecting is something
Yep.
that we saw historically. We saw it a year ago. We saw it
Yep.
6 months ago, and we're continuing to see it.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, we continue to monitor the markets and kind of see what user feedback is on different approaches and models. But ultimately, we have our own solutions. We speak to
Sure.
our own users, and we kind of stay in our own lane in that regard.
Yeah.
Talk about the branding. It's extremely chaotic. It feels extremely internet native.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what your kind of like framework to making decisions around everything kind of design brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when we first started, Pump actually wasn't the name that we came up for this product specifically. It existed for like a few different products that we launched because we honestly thought it was like all the products we were building were for people in the trenches, so to speak. So people that were trading on chain and so on. And we felt like that whole ethos, that whole branding just kind of aligned with I guess with the culture like of people trading on chain and really this deeply internet native crowd that we were addressing. I think definitely contributes to how we think about it today. The way we think about it is we don't necessarily want to, I guess, we want to pay respect to kind of where we came from, and we want to grow our community rather than removing and making our brand like, I mean, there's a big difference between making your brand more accessible or your product more accessible and kind of moving away from the brand that you've built, right? So I think a big part of why Pump has succeeded is that it has really built a community of people that are, that are trading and hopping on every single day and so on. And a part of that is being in touch with them and continuing to interact. And that also reflects in the design. Like if we changed everything all of a sudden and it was extremely, I guess, looked like your average product in AI or something like that, then I think there would be a lot of eyebrows that would be raised by our user base.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about VC? I mean, have you raised any? I'm sure people.
I know.
When you're growing fast, they're beating down your door.
I think the story is you raised from 6man,
okay.
right? Is that correct? Dudas's fund.
That's correct. I can't give too many details on
Sure.
the whole, I guess, life cycle.
But I have a question that would be fun to answer. What's the craziest thing a VC's ever done to try to win allocation in Pump? Because I know you guys
anonymously
revenue has just rocketed to such an extreme degree.
People are.
You guys, for every dollar of venture capital, I'm sure you've generated, at this point, an obscene amount of profit. But do you have any funny stories there?
I'm not sure if there's anything in particular there, but definitely there's so many stories where not just for VCs, but like, I guess influencers in the space and stuff as well, where we DM'd them multiple times and received introductions and didn't get any responses. Only for the exact opposite to take place once the platform has gained traction. And yeah, this has happened many times.
Can you talk to us about the live streaming product that you guys have? I mean, we're live streamers ourselves, and so super interested in what's going on.
Yeah, and you recently brought it back and made a number of changes to it. So I'm curious, how it's evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. So the live streaming feature is pretty simple. When you launch your own coin, you can also launch a live stream alongside it to, engage with your community, talk to them, do a whole bunch of different things. Obviously, I think a lot of your viewers are going to be familiar with the previous live stream product that we had, which kind of, it gained a lot of mind share late last year and ultimately needed to shut that down for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But we decided to bring it back with, much better moderation, as well as just an improved product overall. And what the reason why we think that our live streaming product can genuinely change the whole creator landscape and actually compete with some of the biggest live streaming platforms out there is that it completely flips the incentives that creators are currently facing. As a creator, I mean, I'm already seeing this with relatively few users compared to the biggest platforms. As a creator, when you're starting out, it's Pump Fun live streaming is the easiest place in the world to get your first 50 to 100 viewers. Why is that? The reason is because users are directly incentivized to find people early. Because if they find your live stream early, they see that you're interesting, you're entertaining, you're funny, etc., and they buy into your coin. if your coin gets more attention, then that presumably can yield profits. Obviously, not financial advice, et cetera, but that's oftentimes what ends up happening. And because of that incentive structure, it makes it so much easier for creators to get traction. And that's the biggest problem that creators usually face when they start out. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, with a few recent changes that we've made, creators don't necessarily even have to sell their tokens to make money. They can monetize instantly with no middleman through creator revenue sharing. So whenever someone makes a trade, a small percentage of that goes directly to the creator. So they monetize immediately. There's no approvals that they have to go through. They don't need to reach any milestones. They interact directly with their audience, and they don't necessarily need to appeal to any advertisers and so on. As long as their content is within, respects the terms of service of the site, they're going to be able to monetize.
Talk about why you chose Solana early on and why you're continuing to double down there, and if you're looking at opportunities on other chains at all.
Yeah, so we love Solana. I mean, I mentioned Ethereum early on with my PFP, so that's, I guess, kind of where our background is. We built on Ethereum for many years in that ecosystem. Eventually, because we were building products and we're getting, I guess, like increasingly desperate to get users, we saw that, especially for meme coins, people were starting to trade them on other blockchains, specifically Solana, and that was gaining a lot of traction back then. So we wanted to go to where all the users were, right? Because that would maximize our chances of succeeding. So we went to Solana. Obviously, after we gained success, we got a ton of inbound from other blockchains and so on, and people were asking to get their favorite blockchain added. But ultimately, our goal is to bring tokenization to the masses. Our goal is to kind of expand this universe and really break into the mainstream. And I don't necessarily believe that going onto any other chain would contribute to that. Solana as infrastructure has improved so significantly over the past year and a half since Pump Fund has been live, that we're very confident that once, I guess, that critical mass is reached, the infrastructure will be able to support the activity on the platform. And more than just that, there's so many ecosystem applications that utilizes Pump's marketplace infrastructure and so on that actually contribute to the not just to the bottom line, but contributes to the overall user experience. Like, people can use whatever interfaces they like to get the best experience possible. So all in all, couldn't be happier being on Solana, and we're not considering leaving anytime soon.
Very cool.
Fantastic.
Thank you for jumping on. I know you don't do a lot of interviews, do a lot of media in general, so appreciate you coming and telling the story. I legitimately think there will eventually be a Harvard business school case study on what you're building, because it's completely unprecedented, the growth. I think we'll probably just start to see this year people realizing how big a business Pump has become in such an incredibly short period of time. So thank you for jumping on and sharing, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.